What is going on, everybody? Bobster1984 here again. It's been ages since I've last done a video. I'm going to fill you in on what's been going on in my summer so far. And obviously the main talking point is, of course, talking about Newcastle United's pre-season and how it's going and how it's been and what we're going to be doing in the last game. So, what's been happening to me? Personally, it's been a quiet summer. Went on holiday, went to Tenerife and come back engaged. So that happened, and we are in the middle of planning our wedding. So been a lot of things happening behind the scenes in terms of why Bobster1984 or Robert, as my real name, is really hard as that is to work that out. That's what's happening in my life at the minute. So I haven't had a lot of time to do a lot of videos. I was going to do some videos over Euro 2016, but it turned out to be such a drab, boring tournament, and I felt like I couldn't really put my opinion across any differently to anybody else, because everybody was saying the same thing about England, saying the same thing about the tournament, etc, etc. I wasn't just going to jump on and say the same thing, because as much as my channel is just all about my opinion, I don't also want to have a video that's been done 1,000 times, and things like that. So that's why I didn't really keep me promise and do videos over Euro 2016. If you were obviously looking out for that, I do apologise. But I am back now for the rest of the pre-season, of what's left of it for Newcastle, and obviously for the start of the season next weekend. So what do I think is happened in terms of what's my opinion in Newcastle's pre-season? Now, I think they've had a really good pre-season. Rafa Benitez has obviously put his stamp on it. He's brought in the players I think that we needed to bring in, players that have got championship experience, players that are going to do the job for this hopeful one season that we're down in the championship, and we can maybe sell them on or keep them, develop them into Premier League players if we do get promoted. I personally think that the signing of Dwight Gale was a good one. He's got pace. We're looking back to the days of Shearer and Bellamy with him and Mitrovic. Hopefully, the knockdowns from Shearer, i.e. Mitrovic, and Bellamy runs in behind and usually scored. Hopefully Dwight Gale is going to be the new Bellamy for Newcastle. I personally think he could end up being a decent signing. He has scored goals. He's been Palace's top scorer in the last 3 seasons. I know that's not really saying a lot because he hasn't scored that many. But, it's a feat for somebody that doesn't really play. He hasn't really started a lot of games for Palace, so I'm prepared to give the lad, obviously, all the chances. I'm really impressed with the signing of Matt Ritchie as well. I think he's the type of winger that Newcastle have needed. So we're hopefully going to have a bit of width in our team as well. We're quite pleased with the signing of Games as well, Jesus Games, from Atletico, because not only is this a different signing for Newcastle, it's a needed signing. We're signing a leader. We're signing somebody who's obviously got experience. He's got experience playing for one of the best sides in Europe, but he's also captain material, and he's going to stand up and tell people what's going to happen and things like that. He's going to be a leader in terms of a bit of experience for that dressing room, kind of the same as like Kevin Nolan and Joey Barton the last time it went down. Matt Sells, I'm not really sure about the goalkeeper, to be honest. I think he's going to be that kind of player where he's probably not going to be our first choice. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with Tim Krul. He's still obviously not fully fit. Personally, I would give the job to Rob Elliott, because I think he deserved it from his excursions last season. But we've got an abundance of talent really in the goalkeeping options, and I don't really think we're going to have too many problems there. I think the last signing, obviously Grant Hanley, that is exactly what we needed. We've signed a championship-proven captain of his team, Blackburn Rovers, and in the $5.5 million, it's not really too bad. And he plays for Scotland. I mean, we can obviously make all the jokes in the world of a Scottish player, but at the end of the day, he's got all of the championship experience that we need, and he's a central defender. After getting rid of Colaccini, after Stephen Taylor being released, and obviously Williamson leaving last season, we are severely short in that position. I do hope Rafa's got another central defence signing up his sleeve, because I do think we're a little bit short. And obviously our last signing of the summer was obviously Isaac Hayden. I don't really know much of the kid, but he played obviously at Hull last season, so he's got the championship experience. experience. He's young, he looks hungry, he sounds hungry from what he's been saying. So I think Newcastle have done really well in the buying front of our pre-season. Now we're moving on to the selling front, and the only two players that we've actually sold for money are Andros Townsend and Gini Wijnaldum. I'm a little bit disappointed to lose Wijnaldum. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I do think, yes, he was a homer last season. He only ever really seemed to turn up when we played at home. I do think he was one of those players, if we could just persuade him to stay, stay. If we get promoted, we can do something with this squad. We can turn it into a squad that you can see has got potential. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. He left at the first opportunity, and I was a little bit disappointed in his interview with Liverpool. Obviously, he never mentioned once to Newcastle or anything like that. So it just smells of somebody jumping ship. Which when you're a footballer, I kind of blame you, but show a bit of respect for the team that brought you to England. In terms of Townsend, now I'm very disappointed with this one, because obviously he was fantastic for us in the 13 games he played since we signed him in January. Now obviously we all knew about the clause in the contract, but I genuinely believe that if Rafa Benitez could sit him down, give Andros Townsend his vision of what he had planned for Newcastle and what he thought was going to happen in terms of this pre-season and the season ahead, and get us into that Premier League and then push on. I know you're protecting your England career, but you went down in our estimation, I think, Andros. There's no need to just come up 1 minute and say you're really happy at the club, and then the first opportunity you've gone really to Palace. And I think that's, once we get back in the Premier League, we'll show you that's a step down. Fingers crossed anyway. Colaccini obviously left. It's been on the cards for the last 2 years that he wanted to go back to San Lorenzo. I'm not one of these players who's going to sit here and just insulate him. I'm going to, say thank you for the incredible ups and downs that you've had at Newcastle. 8 years, was our captain, not the best captain in the world, but he always put the graft in when he was fit, and I'm not going to sit here and criticise him and say that he was a terrible player for Newcastle. He'll go down as one of the best central defenders we've had, but we've not had that many good ones, to be honest, so really, have we? So other than that, there's not really much more in terms of what's happening, talk at the minute for who's coming in, who's going out. Hopefully nobody goes out. Sissoko obviously is due back in training on the 1st of August, but if he goes, I really, really couldn't give a fuck. Now, in terms of the pre-season games, I've watched only highlights of all of them. We've looked really sharp. I know we've been playing opposition that's obviously below, but we have looked really good at times, scoring a few really good goals, obviously, especially Richie against Bohemians in the first game. I think that, obviously, the results that we're getting, I know they're only friendlies, but they're positive. If you look at last year, I think we only had 1 or 2 wins in the whole pre-season, but we didn't really score many goals. I think we scored 9 in 7 games, and that isn't really the greatest return, to be honest. Now, if you look at what we've done so far, we've scored 14 goals in 4 games. Obviously, we'll play Vitesse on Sunday, and it's just, it's great to see Newcastle scoring goals. I know they're only pre-season, and I'm not getting carried away, but I think we've had a really good pre-season. I think Rafa's obviously done a lot of things, obviously behind the scenes, in terms of the dressing rooms, the training ground and things like that. He's made it the way he wants it, and kudos to the club for keeping their end of the bargain when they persuaded him to stay. He's got full control. And that's genuinely all he wanted, and he's got it. And hopefully, obviously, we'll come next Friday when we play Fulham away. We'll be ready, firing on all cylinders. But yeah, that's basically my first video back, first video of the summer in terms of Newcastle's pre-season. Obviously, I'm going to be doing a more obvious schedule, same as previous. In terms of videos, I will be doing a couple of videos. I'm going to start doing some new things as well. Going to be introducing some other sports on this channel. I'm not going to just focus on Newcastle United. I am going to try and focus on other things this season. I am interested in other sports, obviously not just football. But my name is Bob1984. Thanks very much for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope if you're new here, you hit that subscribe button. And better yet, I hope you leave some comments. Give us some kind of insight on what you feel like you would like to see from me in the future. And I'll see you all very soon.